Well, uh, hello everyone. So, interesting things have happened and continue to happen. So, a handful of days ago, at least, was made aware of a purported email sent to KBOI, which was apparently read on air, and it it interested me, not because somebody was talking bad about me and who a lot of the people I'm working with. I realize that people do that every day and many times a day, and I'm just, yeah, you kind of go mad if you want to keep track of all that. Well, just saying, as a chronically online person, and definitely, and this has definitely been a policy of mine before getting politically involved. There's just no way to keep track and respond to every last little thing that is ever said about you online. However, some people and I were texting back and forth about this, and we noticed some things. This person apparently making different claims about themselves and what situations were. We we're almost fairly certain about something, but so anyway, going over all that, it made me very clear. You know what? Maybe I should be covering this after all. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. This is some of my own analysis of some of the stuff coming from text conversations and whatnot. Some of the uh, some of this analysis is definitely not my own, but you know what? If that ever comes in question, I'll address it. But anyway, um, a common thread among the seditious six is that there always seems to be this problem for them that people actually paid attention to what they said. And I know I've said that a lot in different times and groups, but this is very true for a lot of the people, especially to who we're now referring to I was referring to them as the resignees because they resigned, but privately in a lot of conversations now, and I've seen it in a couple of places this morning in public. So I'm now going to refer to them, at least for this, as the seditious six. I have an idea who came up with this originally back in private conversations. Different groups are talking to each other and stuff. So I originally didn't like that name, but you know what? It has a nice sibilance alliteration to it. So I'm going to refer to the resignees now as the seditious six. Now, one thing overall in this email is that this person claims that they've only been around as a PC for 2 years, but they're giving a lot of really warped versions of details in here. And I'm not going to expressly spell out exactly what's warped and what's not here, but we think that this is Victor Miller, and he just changed a few details to make himself one look more credible, and two make it look like this wasn't him writing this. I'll just say that. Now, I don't have none of us actually have like the actual original email, and so that's why this all kind of runs together, all like this. I'm so yeah. I apologize for like the wall of text here, but yeah, that's the way that somebody transcribed it, and that's the way I was able to copy it, and so that's the way it looks. But there's a lot of hand waving over certain details in this email, and that in and of itself is a very classic Victor Miller move. If you ever spent many spent a whole lot of time in emails chaired by him, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And this what was this? This told untruths to other members. Let's see where in here. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it's such a wall of text I can't even see it. But right in there, it says, told untruths to other members part. That's very Victor Miller because he's always trying to contain the narrative about whoever is talking about him and whatever is being said. More than once in conversations, either right before or during a Central Committee meeting, he's always said something similar like, you usually at the conclusion of a side conversation, something like, and say that to your friends when you're talking about me. That's yeah, that's a mark of stability. But yeah, that's definitely a classic Victor Miller move, and this long and complicated part. Now, let's see. He uses the phrase "long and complicated" somewhere in here. Been around for them. Okay, yeah, right. A very long, complicated story short. The groups made it impossible to donate money. Yeah, he really had to put in that jab there, didn't he? But this long and complicated part is basically hand waving a lot of details in which would be inconvenient for Victor Miller. And and when speaking to Central Committee, it's for those things that very things that he's referencing there that people should be asking questions. And here he is just trying to hand wave and brush it aside. No, no, ask those questions. Ask what that story is, especially with people that were on the ground. You should not just simply take my word for it. Go find out what that story is. It's for these very things that people should be asking questions. I even saw him try that same trick of hand waving. A long, complicated story. I saw him try that same trick, that identical trick, in the Rules Committee up at the Chalice meeting, and natural reaction of both Harry Heath and Brent Regan. They separately tore him down for trying it. And it's also after doing so, especially in the last year or so, where Victor will be visibly frustrated with relative ease. Like, you start calling into question the hand waving he's trying to do. That's when he gets supremely frustrated. It's a mark of not only a control freak, but somebody who has to be believed in every last little thing that they say. You know, very very stable as it were. But saying that PCs that were lied to and convinced to vote against Victor, kind of against the Victor cult, kind of hand waves over the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of convincing to be done, given the situation with the proxy votes. And I'll say what I mean here. The proxy voting was abused to the point where then less than a quarter of the voting members were carrying so many proxies that they somehow had a majority. This was so bad that Travis Clyde was printing out proxy forms illegally in the back of the room while incidentally also carrying something like 13 proxies himself. 13. I'm not kidding with that number. Also, he uses a certain phrase in here. I want to make sure that I highlight it. GOP party. Yeah, he uses this phrase a lot, state GOP party, which is inherently redundant. And I just laughed when I first heard it and when I saw it in the transcription. It's a redundancy that Victor Miller has been making pretty often since before he became chairman, especially in that I think he even said it in that video where he basically where afterwards he basically went back on his word on about paying dues to the state party. But yeah, that is a very very specifically Victor Miller error. that keeps happening. They're using the phrase state GOP party. Now, in case somebody, the listener isn't aware here, or the viewer rather, state GOP party is redundant because the last P, the last letter in the term GOP. Originally, that term meant Grand Old Party. It was used as a slight against the Republicans back in the day, but they just sort of adopted and owned it, and so now a lot of people just simply refer to, inside the party, refer to it as the GOP, Grand Old Party. And here, it's like saying ATM machine. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's a very, very uniquely Victor Miller type of error. And not type of error. He's made that very error a ton of times. So, speaking, I love this. What was it? Speak with a microphone at meetings. Let's see. My, I've written down some rough notes about this. If it's not already clear. But this long timer group, that he's referring to a lot of the people that are working against. He he also likes to reference them as a contiguous, completely agreeing with each other group. But no, we're just people that are working together. We are not absolutists or extremists or far right or purists. Now, I somewhat am a little bit of a platform purist. I am the most Republican, as a certain person said. But um, no, we're definitely not a contiguous group, and this long timer group that will get what appears to be the most important thing to them, which is the ability to run the Central Committee meetings and speak with a microphone at those meetings. Wow, wow, Victor Miller is like really sore here. And it's a near exact copy of what Victor Miller is known to say in private situations. So is the do not and have not situation thing. Let's see if I can highlight it here. Do not and have. Yeah, okay, yeah, the do not and have not. Yeah, when he's trying to convince you that he's not Victor Miller, that he's just one of the and this is a word that he used, lower people. That's literally a phrase that he's used before. Um, uh, but yeah, he's trying to convince the reader or the listener that he's that person. But even in doing so, he left behind the breadcrumb that yeah, this is Victor Miller writing this. So also the jab at the state, all these jabs at the state party is very on brand for Victor. Especially after um, the convention last year, in which his buddy got booted out, and very decisively so. Um, and it's largely because he's still trying to peg electioneering types of activities to the amount of dues paid, to which I can attest he's been told that it's very, very wrong. Like, no, the one does not have to necessarily do with the other there. And the only reason, and he's been told this, I can attest that he's been told this many times by now. The only reason Ada County GOP ever got credit for such electioneering activity was because Ada County couldn't pay the whole quota anyways, back when it was a quota. And they weren't likely to get caught up, therefore. It's like, okay, fine, we'll at least have them contribute in some way. That was how that whole thing broke down. But generally, and he's been told this, I'll repeat that as many times as I freaking like. He's been told that no, that's not how it's supposed to go. Counties have always supported the expenses of the state party. That's the way that it's been in Idaho. That's the way it's been working for quite some time now. But anyway, moving on. I love that he needed to throw around, throw back at, his enemies, his perceived enemies, the insult of narcissist. Let's see if I can find it in here. Oh, let's see, where is it? I know he. Um, Hold on a second. I'm still recording here, and yeah, I'm even included in here. Like, this is actually, not all that contiguous of a group of people, but you know what? That's quite all right. Steve Bender. Steve Bender is a friend of mine. He's good people. Laurel Morgan, good people. Lynn, there's some factional history there, but you know what? We are definitely friendly now, especially on this. Valerie James, good people. Greg Furch, Don Retzlaff. Don Retzlaff is definitely a more recent one, and Thad Brotherwitz, the whole name that he gives this group, the Long Timer Group, and it doesn't even fit with most of them. But but anyway, yeah, he really needed to throw back the insult of narcissist in a classic way because this letter was clearly meant to harm and insult. Well, I never, I never really use the term narcissist or sociopath in a way to directly insult. Only to, I've really only used those terms to describe, except for an extremely specific social media post. Try to guess which one. I bet you won't guess correctly. And I maintain those are really good those are really good words to describe him and his little cult. So it just shows how insecure he is, and he just needed to hurt somebody back, and he apparently needed to name names here. Reading on from my notes here, he really needed to name the names, not just tell people what their view was, but ascribe bad and fictitious motives to these people. Just with with everything in the last part of the email there. Um, this definitely feels like in their strategy, the seditious six was banking on something else happening or not happening at the October Central Committee meeting. This definitely feels like the times where Victor was caught off guard on something and he's lashing out afterwards. You know, so it's another thing to point at. Yeah, this was definitely Victor. It's like, and you can tell, just by reading this whole thing, how sore the purported author is at the situation. Not the alleged situation of no fundraising, but the situation of the executive board being in control and who recently got to be restored to it. Also, I find it interesting that he didn't mention the donors who turned away from him, largely due to his non-payment of dues to the state party. And that was largely due, from what I'm told, largely he told them that he was paying dues. And so, yeah, I love how this letter and Victor Miller just gloss over that part about there's way much more to this situation than, oh, there's going to be no fundraising now. Yeah, there are people that would tell you if you found and asked them. Just saying. Um, Also, I love this little line, right? The very last part. Friends like the these friends like the cult around Victor Miller, straight up from that Pearl Harbor type meeting, back in November 2019 to now, made it clear that we aren't friends or even friendly. And now he's trying to pretend like he's been stabbed in the back. Oh, get bent, Victor. Oh man, you all right? And I happen to know that Victor will definitely be listening to this because he just can't let that kind of thing go. Because he is that kind of narcissist. Oh, there's that word again. But here, you've made your bed, Victor. Now you have to lie in it. So that's my commentary of what's going on with this email. I wish I had the original of the email. There might be some more bits of context in there. But this is what was read on air on KBOI. Uh, I just got an email. I've probably been waiting for a little while, and I'm at the end of what I intended to say anyway here. So I am going to stop recording here. I'm going to lead out with the cardboard lanterns potato. Someday I'll say as to what that's in reference to, but I'll transition out to the potato here and the bass guitar, and y'all have a good day. Blessings.